What do you know about me?
Dune is officially waking up again, and this time the desert does not look like a prophecy. It looks like a countdown to war. Warner Brothers and Legendary have finally released the new trailer for Dune Part 3. And after everything Denis Villeneuve built across the first two films, this final chapter feels like the moment where victory stops looking heroic and starts looking terrifying. Paul Atreides wanted revenge. He wanted justice. He wanted to survive. But now he is the Emperor, and the trailer makes one thing very clear. When a Messiah takes the throne, the entire universe pays the price. That is the reason this trailer hits differently. Dune Part 2 ended with Paul accepting the path he had been trying to avoid, choosing power, choosing the Freeman Holy War, and stepping into a future full of blood. Dune Part 3 appears to jump more than 10 years ahead, adapting Frank Herbert's Dune Messiah and showing us the cost of that decision. This is no longer the story of a young nobleman fighting for his family. This is the story of a ruler surrounded by worship, enemies, regret, and consequences he can no longer outrun. What makes Dune Messiah such a fascinating direction for the franchise? It does not simply celebrate Paul's rise. It questions it, and that is exactly why I am excited to see Villeneuve tackle this material. The first two Dune films were already about power, religion, colonialism, destiny, and manipulation. But Part 3 seems ready to push those ideas into their most uncomfortable form. Paul is not just fighting villains anymore. He is fighting the legacy of his own victory. He has become a symbol people kill for, pray to, and fear. And once a leader becomes a myth, the person underneath starts disappearing. The trailer puts Chani right at the emotional center of that problem. Zendaya returns as Chani, and her relationship with Paul looks more strained than ever. That matters because Chani is not just a love interest. She is one of the few people who can still see Paul as a human being instead of a god. She knows what his rise has cost the Freeman. She understands the pain behind the prophecy. And from the trailer, it is clear she is not blindly standing beside him. That tension may be the emotional spine of the film. Paul and Chani now have two children, Leto II Atreides and Ghanima Atreides, played by Nicole Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke. That turns their conflict into something even more personal. This is not only about politics. It is about family, legacy, and what kind of future their children will inherit. If Paul's empire is built on blood, then his children are born directly into the storm he created. The returning cast makes the world feel even bigger. Florence Pugh is back as Princess Irulan. Javier Bardem returns as the increasingly devoted Stilgar. Rebecca Ferguson returns as Lady Jessica. Charlotte Rampling is back as Reverend Mother Mohiam. And Josh Brolin returns as Gurney Halleck, keeping Paul's old world tied to his terrifying new one. But the trailer also introduces new forces that could completely reshape the final chapter. Robert Pattinson joins the franchise as Scytale, and that casting instantly became one of the biggest talking points. After the Batman, Tenet, and his growing list of ambitious roles, Pattinson stepping into Dune feels strangely perfect. Scytale is a dangerous shapeshifter, and the trailer suggests he is part of a plan for regime change by killing Paul Atreides. That is a massive threat because Dune has always been about hidden systems of power. Armies matter, but bloodlines, prophecy, biology, fear, and belief matter even more. Scytale fits perfectly into a universe where control is often disguised as destiny. Jason Momoa also returns, but not as casual viewers may expect. Duncan Idaho died in the first film, yet Part 3 brings him back as Hayt, a resurrected clone tied deeply to Paul's fate. That is not just fan service. It opens the door to questions about identity, memory, loyalty, and what remains of a person after death. That is what makes Dune different from most blockbuster franchises. It is not only bigger battles. It is a clone who may not be the man he once was. A messiah trapped by his own religion, a woman torn between love and resistance, and children born into a future poisoned by prophecy. The trailer also confirms something Villeneuve has hinted at before. This film may be closer to an action thriller than a traditional epic. That makes sense. Dune Part 3 is not starting from zero. The world is already built. The players are already in motion. The war is no longer theoretical. So instead of spending half the movie explaining Arrakis, the new chapter can move with more urgency, more danger, and more paranoia. And then there is the release date battle. Dune Part 3 is set for December 18th, the same day as Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday. Fans have already turned that clash into the nickname Dunesday, and honestly, the name is too perfect to ignore. On one side, you have Denis Villeneuve's science fiction finale. On the other, a massive Marvel event from Anthony and Joe Russo, but there is one huge difference. Dune has the IMAX advantage for opening weekend in the United States. That is not a small detail. Villeneuve's Dune films are built for premium screens. The scale, the sound design, the desert imagery, the ships, the sandworms, the silence, and the brutality all hit harder in IMAX. If Part 3 gets that format while Avengers has to wait, it gives Dune a real theatrical edge. This is the kind of movie that can remind people why the big screen still matters. Streaming cannot make Arrakis shake your chest. IMAX can. Warner Brothers is not ending the Dune era with this trilogy either. HBO's Dune Prophecy has already been renewed for a second season, so the universe will keep expanding. The challenge is that Villeneuve's cinematic identity is so strong that every future project will be judged against it. For now, though, all eyes are on Part 3. The trailer suggests a finale that is not simply about defeating a villain, but about confronting the monster that power can create inside a hero. Paul Atreides may be the most dangerous person in the universe not because he wants destruction, but because he believed he could control destiny. That is the tragedy at the heart of Dune. The more someone tries to master the future, the more the future closes around them, and that is why this story still feels so relevant. Dune is not just about spice, sandworms, or space politics. It is about the danger of charismatic leaders. It is about how people turn suffering into religion, how empires use belief, and how even good intentions can become terrifying when paired with absolute power. Paul did not begin as a monster. That is what makes his journey so compelling. The tragedy is watching how the world around him may turn him into one anyway. Dune Part 3 arrives in theaters on December 18th, and if this trailer is any indication, Villeneuve is preparing something darker, faster, and more emotionally brutal than many people expect. I want to know where you stand on this one. Are you more excited for Paul's final chapter, Chani's role in the story, Robert Pattinson as Scytale, or Jason Momoa's return as Hayt? Because if Dune Part 3 delivers on the promise of this trailer, then Dunesday may not just be a funny nickname. It may become one of the biggest box office battles and one of the most intense sci-fi finals of 2026.